This is my recap of Marriage Bootcamp, Season 2, Episode 5, Amazed and Confused. So we open up with Maylee. She got something on her shirt, and then her and Thomas got into a big fight because he didn't stop and help her fix it. Now, men, women, my advice to you is that if you need something from your partner, just tell them. Just flat out say, hey, can you help me with this? I know it's not as fun as when they magically guess and just help you out without you having to ask. But for every one time that they can read your mind, there's 1,000 times where they just won't. They just won't know. They're thinking about chicken or who knows. So that's my advice to everyone, is that if you need something, if you need your partner to stop and help you get something off your shirt, just ask them. Anyway, so that fight goes on for a while. The challenge today is communication and how people communicate. So they have a maze, and the wives are on one side and the husbands are on another, and they each have a map of the maze, and they have to meet in the middle, throw away their maps, and then exit together, and it's timed. Now the trick is that the husbands have the map for the women and the women have the map for the men. And then they have walkie-talkies to communicate. So the idea is that how they communicate really says a lot about their relationship, which is dead on, because Gloria and Mark, Gloria gets really frustrated and just gives up on Mark. Sean and Sophia doesn't really trust Sean to be able to figure it out. Maylee and Thomas, dead on to their relationship, where she's talking him through it, even though she's still really mad at him. And at some point, he either misses a turn or she gives a bad direction or something, and he just doesn't tell her. So he just goes off and does it on his own. It's just completely ignoring her. And they get to the center and they leave, and she has no idea that he started ignoring her. So she's like, oh yeah, I totally got him to the center of the maze, and woohoo, go us. It's kind of sad. Tasha and Jeff, they're talking over each other, and she gets really mad at him for not doing it right, and he's, I don't know, not listening to her or whatever. And at some point she goes, well, he just didn't want to listen, so she just tears up his map and throws it away. So he's stuck out there. Honey, honey, honey. And she's like, well, I don't have your map. This was your decision. And I'm like, wow, they're a mess. Let's see. Blanca and Julian, they are communicating pretty well, and then they somehow get lost. And so they can't really help each other, but Julian can hear Blanca yelling, so he just runs into the maze and goes and gets her and brings her back. And then, let's see. Oh, and that's all the teams. So they get to the end and they show all the times, and Sean and Sophia had the shortest time, but Sophia's like, but we didn't really, I didn't really trust him. And they're like, you're right, you didn't actually win. It's Blanca and Julian, and you get to pick someone to serve you, and so they pick Jeff and Tasha. Okay, so everybody else has peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and Blanca and Julian have steak. Now, after lunch, they're going to do another exercise where they fight and they switch roles. And it's very, so they say all this typical stuff that they say in their fights, and it's clear that they've had these fights a million times because everybody knows their role. One thing I wanted to point out was that Thomas wasn't really stepping up, so they asked Gloria to come in and fight as Maylee. And Gloria has a real career as a professional Bridezilla impersonator because she nailed that. And the other thing I want to mention about this is that when Tasha starts fighting with Jeff, she goes and she shoves him just repeatedly. And it really bothers me that no one is addressing these physical confrontations, because I don't care if if it had been Jeff and he had gotten up and shoved her, I'm pretty sure they would have been like, whoa, Jeff, you can't do that. But it's still just as wrong when Tasha shoves Jeff. I think they need to be addressing this, that no matter how angry you are, you don't put your hands on your partner in anything other than a loving way. Right? Am I alone in that? So we get the beginning of kind of the next episode at the end of this episode. So I'm going to address that, which is that they say, okay, well, tonight, they do kind of this is where everyone's at. And then they say, okay, tonight, you're not going to be sleeping with your partner. You're all going to be doing basically a wife swap. And Maylee is like, no, ma'am, that's not happening. And I kind of agree with her, because that was something that in my relationship with my husband, I mean, obviously we're not wife swapping, and then, like, I don't think either one of us would feel comfortable with the other, like, sleeping alone in a room with someone else. So I'm going to see kind of, they always say it more, sensationally than what actually happens. So we're going to see next episode what is actually going on. See you guys.